Hello, hello, hello. Here we are again this Wednesday, as every Wednesday. It's your show host, Regina Huber from Transform Your Performance with the same website, transformyourperformance.com. And today I am again, or still, I should say, tuning in from Miami Beach, Florida, United States. And next week, I'm going to tell you more about my upcoming travel plans because I have some really great surprises in store. If you have watched this show before, if you know me, if you've met me before, you know that I'm an adventurous, passionate nomad and a very eclectic nomad as well, the very eclectic experience on 5 continents, and a business based in New York City. Super passionate about traveling. I love learning about other cultures, about other countries and continents, and living adventures. My eclectic life and experience on 5 continents has also allowed me to become a multicultural and multilingual transformational leadership coach and inspirational speaker, as well as author of the book Speak Up, Stand Out and Shine, as well as co-author of several other books that you can find on my website and on Amazon as well. And because I have seen such a huge diversity of sparkling brilliance in women all over the world and in people all over the world, I have made it my mission for the show and for all its episodes to inspire you to ignite a fire wherever your path leads you, to really keep it burning strong and to move up that light dimmer so you can shine your brightest light and increase your influence and impact as a leader in any capacity, the leader that you are in your world and your life. And in this way, hopefully also positively impact your bank account and live, of course, a more fulfilled life, because that's what we are all here for, to make a difference and experience growth and fulfillment. This is your show, What's Your Spark? And What's Your Spark is about how you can show up more powerfully in business and in leadership and sparkle your unique leader brilliance out to the world. Courageous leadership is what we need. And so you can beam like a dazzling star with it and shine with such a bright light that people who come near you may have to put on their sunglasses when they look at you. So I really want you to be free to live the life you came to live to this earth with your special spark. And that's why I invited my wonderful friend and amazing businesswoman, Jendza, today here with me. And I'm sharing her and her wisdom with you so that you can get inspired by her as well. Welcome, Lisa, first of all.
Oh, thank you, Regina. Wow. How do you top that intro? You're quite an inspiration.
Well, thank you. And so are you. And that's why we're both here together, right? So yes, this show, Lisa, as you also know, What's Your Spark is about how you can show up more powerfully in business and in leadership and sparkle your unique leader brilliance out to the world and really beam like that dazzling star, as we said before. So far, we have covered topics related to mindset, heart set, leadership, and self-leadership, of course, which is a part of leadership, to your distinctive uniqueness, your unique brilliance. This is always about unique brilliance, really, right? It's why it's called What's Your Spark? And we've also covered topics that fall under the umbrella of freedom. And today's episode would be such a topic. It also falls under the broader umbrella of the overarching topic of freedom. So, and that's why I invited Lisa, because she is actually the founder of Freedom Kitchen. And it's an absolutely amazing project. I'm so happy to have her here so that she can share everything about it. So before she does, though, let me quickly introduce her. Lisa, as I said, is also a really dear friend of mine, so I'm double delighted to introduce her to you and vice versa. And Lisa, with the human design of a generator and the sun sign of Aries, is here as a change agent on Earth. Her purpose is liberation, hence the freedom topic, right? Lisa cut her teeth in the business world with GM and EDS, leaving a successful career with HP. Well, she's gonna enlighten us about all these. These are all well-known companies you may know, but she's going to probably tell us a little story anyways. I'll just leave it at that. After 25 years that she spent with all these companies, leaving to follow her calling to heal and empower others. Lisa has owned a wellness spa, co-founded a commercial kitchen and cooking school, and is a business coach and health coach. If our health is our greatest wealth, then freedom starts in the kitchen, Lisa says. Always searching for the root cause, Lisa is not satisfied with the current food ecosystem and can see the resources that need to align to improve the outcome for all. A new ecosystem is needed that organizes resources from health advocates to influence the shift to conscious consumerism. Being in the kitchen symbolizes taking care of oneself. It is how we nourish and show love to others. Lisa's classes always end up in the kitchen, and that's why she's sitting in her kitchen today. Students of Lisa's programs have said it has set them free. Wow. And freedom is her life's purpose. And it's certainly also one of my main core values, together with integrity. So we are very much aligned, Lisa. And as always, it's just so lovely to see you and to chat with you. I'm so curious, I know a lot about you, about your story, but I know there's so much more to it. And I always learn something new, some new nuggets. So I'm really curious to hear more about that. And actually, I'm just coming from my kitchen where I prepared myself a healthy, fresh salad before the show. Did I do that well?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I think it gave me a little bit of energy. All right. So, Lisa, without further ado, I know you have a lot to share. So my first question is, what's your spark?
My spark, Regina, is empowering people to think critically and to be able to make informed decisions. And it's what is lacking today in society is there are a lot of things that have really been hidden from us and that we haven't been aware of. And I remember having that realization after having a health crisis and having to reclaim my health. I started reading labels. And that's when I realized that food wasn't food. I couldn't read the ingredients on the labels. And, I think we were duped along the way. We got really busy. I was the first working mom in my family, and working in IT, it was very demanding. So I put in a lot of hours, and more hours at work than I did, I think, as a mom. And for an example, I was making my kids breakfast and read the back of this syrup bottle and realized there was no maple syrup in that bottle. It's high fructose corn syrup, caramel coloring, and maple flavoring. And I really want that to sink in for a minute, because this might seem like a really trivial thing, but this is where we have been misinformed, or we have misperceptions about what we're really purchasing and what we're funding. And coming from the IT world and being a business executive and reading annual reports and looking at bottom lines, I really quickly made the correlation that this is about their bottom line and it is not about health. And over time, the things that we have been buying and supporting and thinking that we were nourishing our families with were not intended to nourish us, but were intended for basically higher profits. And so here's where my business world, real world knowledge meets, food and how it sort of collided in the kitchen.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so interesting about the labels. So I read all the labels, right? But if it's more than five ingredients, I usually stop because it's no longer for me. Unless you know that it's all nuts and fruits, sometimes you have those bars, but most of the bars are also pretty crappy, right? So lots of sugar and other and natural flavors, right? But yeah, I also have found out that in most of the prepared foods, especially in the United States, we have canola oil, cornstarch, and all that stuff that is really not good for you. And so I eat a very few of those, I buy very few of those prepared products anyway. But when I do read the labels. That was a huge eye opener for sure, right? And if there's an ingredient that I don't know because it's not a food clearly, then I also put it back into the freezer or into the shelf. So I'm with you on that. Absolutely. We need to educate ourselves a little bit more and just be more disciplined also when we do shopping, right? Really not just quick, 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 quick. Over time, you actually remember the products that you would not buy anymore anyway, right? So that's at least been my experience. So anyway, but moving on with the questions. So how did you find this spark of yours, this very special, unique spark?
Well, so this business world meets food collided in my own kitchen as a mom. And I started reading labels. And so some of this was because I'd had a health crisis and I needed to reclaim my health. And I had this eye opener that what we think isn't the truth. So what I thought I was buying wasn't what I was buying. And so it led me on a journey of thinking, were we intentionally misled? Or have we just really all been so busy in survival mode that we just weren't paying attention? And as we demanded returns on Wall Street, the food companies found ways to make the products cheaper and cheaper and cheaper so they would have the return on Wall Street, which then led me to think about where my investments were in my 401k. I was investing in those companies. So I was basically their customer and I was demanding a return for my 401k, which means maybe I was driving that behavior for them to cheapen the food. And so this all comes full circle. So this is not a blame game. This is us empowering ourselves with this knowledge and information. And so you asked me what my spark is, and my spark is really to empower people. And I watch when I go out and speak and I start questioning people and getting them to think, they come up to me after and they're like, I never saw life this way. You have given me so much to think about. And so really it's that transformation, right? We're both in the business of helping people transform their perceptions. And for you, transforming someone's performance. For me, it's transforming their life, their lifestyle. And I don't like to get caught up into what food is good and bad because everyone is different. And after 14 years now of health coaching, some people need more veggies, some people need to be vegetarian, and some people need more meat. And there's no right or wrong. There really is. The only thing you can do is an elimination protocol. And I have a 3-month process I take people through to guide them so they can determine what is best for them. Most importantly, I'm teaching transformation. I'm guiding people through a process of transformation to transform their perceptions, to transform their beliefs, and to awaken them to what maybe they haven't seen. And I would say that many of us are walking through life with blinders on. And I'll give an example, even in corporate America. When I started many years ago with EDS, and in the Ross Perot days, for all your corporate followers, they'll remember Ross Perot. We were expected to understand how everything worked. We had to be systems thinkers. We had to be critical thinkers, and we had to make decisions in the moment. We were all empowered to make the best decision for the client in the moment. Over time, as we became more corporatized, GM purchased us, and then we were spun off, and then eventually we became HP. I noticed we were being put in silos. So I was a network operations manager, and over time, the router people, the firewall people, the switch people. We were all put in separate silos. And I watched them build an assembly line. Effectively, it was and GM was my customer for 16 years. I was GM for a few years and they were my customer for 16 years. So I'm very familiar with assembly lines, Regina. And I watched them take the assembly line mentality and do that in information technology. So now if you were in routers or firewalls, and you might be in the firewall change group or the firewall operations group, but everyone now had blinders on. And I really disliked that because a lot of people could then say, that's not my department, that's not my job. And that was not the EDS way. The EDS way was to understand the whole system so that we could critically think and make the best decisions. As we were siloed, people had an excuse to not understand the whole system. As I looked out into the rest of society, I realized that had been translated into every aspect of society, whether we're talking about the DMV and the Secretary of State, or your local bank or the grocery store. Go ask someone a question and see how often you get the answer, that's not my department or my responsibility, or I don't know.
Yes,
We have a whole society now, Regina, of people with blinders on who are compartmentalized and are not thinking systemically. And as a result of that, we have a lot of issues that if people were just thinking big picture, systematically, they would see the problems that we're facing, they would have seen them coming.
Right. And that's also, I think, why there's often such a big disconnect between certain leadership levels and the top levels, because you're not supposed to be anymore such a big picture person, but at the top you still are. Am I getting that right? I'm just thinking through this, right? And in a different context, we see this also oftentimes at some tech support, place. I mean, I just had a personal experience of that again myself, where people just don't know their systems and their support functions. And that is a problem for the customer. And I can say this because I have lived it again and again, right? So it really reflects into so many different directions. And of course, when it comes to food and nurturing ourselves and nourishing ourselves, and we don't see the big picture, then, as you said, we might be supporting something that we don't actually want to consume in another area of our lives. Or we might unknowingly or unthinkingly, I should say, because we're just not putting our attention there and we're not focusing there, right? So yeah, that is a very interesting aspect that you mentioned with the shares and your 401k.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to paint that picture, really the big picture down to what people can do, right? So first we need to start with, how did I see this? Mm-hmm. What am I attempting to share with people? And what is my goal? My goal, I don't judge. I have no room to judge what people choose to put in their grocery cart or what they continue to eat. And there's no shaming, we have to, if we're looking at the big picture, I'll tell you that there's another reason for the meat shaming. I do not believe that there is a one size fits all diet for everybody in the world. And so when you start hearing propaganda and shaming, know that there's an ulterior motive and you're being guided to do something that someone wants you to do for profit or gain. And so this is where we have to be able to critically think systemically. We need to look at the whole system. And that's probably the gift of IT, or maybe why I excelled in IT, because I have a systems brain, I have like an engineer's brain. So I can see the whole system. So if I'm looking at a problem, and I've coached over 4,000 people through my detox program, and now I have coached probably about 300 families through my kids' cooking program. And so I'm always looking for, but what's causing this and how do we get to the root cause? So in information technology, if you have a network outage, you have to do root cause analysis. I mean, half of my career I spent in operations. So I did a lot of RCA, Regina.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my brain automatically goes to root cause analysis. What is the root cause of this? We need to get to the root cause. Well, the root cause of this is our food. There's no way around this. There's other chemicals. Yes, I know we can talk about those all day long. So I've been helping people detox for 14 years. Skin products, skincare products that we put on our skin go into our bloodstream. Yes, there's other things, but we have to really look at what's been done to our food. And in all of my contemplation and all of my years of looking at this, I believe that our freedom starts and ends, and this is a bold statement, so I challenge the audience. Our freedom begins and ends in our kitchen. It is the one choice that we make every day. And we have to think about what we are contributing to society, what we are contributing to our family, who are we supporting, and are they supporting us?
Right.
It's out of balance.
Absolutely. And I think, I always say our past experience is a preparation to our current chapter. So, your background in IT has prepared you to really see through narratives that are not aligned, yes, with what we want to achieve, and to question, go to the root cause. I studied a lot of holistic healing as well, and it just really interested me, and there's a lot of value in it actually that flows into my coaching practice. But there we also go to the root cause, right? We don't treat the symptom, we go to the root. But let's move on a little bit, because I'm curious, how does it, you already told us a little bit on how this spark relates to freedom. Let's also talk about how it relates to leadership.
Well, I believe that we're all the leader of our own life. And so we can either lead or we can follow. And unfortunately, Regina, I think with the loss of critical thinking and what has really been conditioned in us to compartmentalize us, and I always put my blinders up, because I really want people to get the visual impact of that we have blinders on if we're not looking at the whole system. And so a lot of this is conditioning. This is not a judgment. This is an awareness. This is the goal of my work. The goal of my work is to help people transform those beliefs, to become more aware of the choices they're making so that they can be a leader and lead by example. First of all, they have to lead in their own life, or they can do what the TV tells them to do. That's not working. Right. We've been following the USDA guidelines. We have the wife of the president who supposedly made school lunches better, and yet the health of our kids has declined. And I'll tell you, those school lunches got more sugar added to them. And that sugar comes in packaged apples with preservatives on them. So let's look at what's happened in the last 8 to 10 years. Have our kids gotten healthier, or have they gotten sicker? We need to question what we're being told. When I was growing up, my mom always said, well, if your friends go jump off a bridge, are you going to follow? But yet that's really what we're seeing these days. We believe if it's sold in a grocery store, our government wouldn't allow anything that was harmful or negative. We believe it's food. It's not food. It's edible products, but it's not food. It's been denatured. And so we've lost our connection to nature. We need nature. And when the food becomes denatured, we become denatured. So we're not real anymore.
It reminds me actually of those, I can't remember what the exact store name was, but they made this also something edible, whatnot. And they made these very artificial looking cakes and whatnot, with all sorts of adornments. But I would not be able to eat that stuff. It's all like unnatural colors and whatnot. It was also called something edible. I don't know what. So it just reminded me, I don't,
Yeah, and and I
will, a real cake if I have to have one, like my mom's cake, which has all natural ingredients, and I frankly only eat cake at home anyway, so I haven't eaten cake in a year and a half. But just it just reminded me of these funny images of these very weird constructs, edible constructs. But go on. We have a
Yeah.
few minutes
You
left.
know, and I'll add to that, Regina. Honestly, I'm the best coach for this because I was a junk food junkie. So I was a smoker of 21 years. We
Oh,
ate
I
out
was too.
7 days a week because I worked 80 hours a week in IT. I was on call 24/7. I did network maintenance in the middle of the night. So when I hear people say, I'm too tired, I don't have time for this, I can't cook from scratch, I get it, which means we have to start with the lifestyle changes first, and we have to figure out how to do that. Now I've learned, involve your kids in the kitchen. They actually learn to cook. They'll cook dinner. My students, I teach kids now. My kids are grown, but I teach kids, and those kids cook dinner for their families. You see, I'm opening up a new world of possibility for people when they can understand that there is a problem. And then we can understand what the problem is. Then we can start to address the solutions. The first thing I need to do in every speaking engagement is to help people transform their perceptions so that first they can become empowered and be the leader so they can make the changes. Then they'll say, what can I do? And that's when we can start working on who do you want to support? How can you be prepared? How can you be empowered? You know, we can talk about batch cooking, food prep, all of those practical things. We can also talk about planting a small garden. We can talk about something really simple like sprouting on your counter. There are solutions. First, we need people to step into that leadership role so that they'll take those actions.
Yeah, so I'm seeing this is how you make an impact with your Spark. So that's really awesome. But I also know that you have had some online summits recently, and you have had amazing guests on your summits as well. So first of all, I commend you for putting those together. I know it's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of technology, which is always my like red flag a little bit. But you know, so I commend you for that, and to also finding the right guests, the right people for these different topics that you have touched on and in those summits. So do you want to share a little bit more about that? And I think we have about 2 more minutes for that.
Yeah. So I'm looking for unique ways to bring this education to more people in bite-sized pieces, pun intended. So if we can get this information to people in a format that maybe is more digestible than, you know, we all are rebels at heart, Regina. And if you go to the doctor and the doctor says you can never have Captain Crunch again, I mean, that was my favorite food, I would have said, I'm going to buy a whole cartload, because I mean, don't tell me I can't have it.
I don't know what it is. I can. Yeah.
So, you know, it's not about telling people what to do. It's about creating the awareness so that we can all elevate our consciousness so we can collectively make better choices, because it's the collective. As we make better choices in the collective, we'll create new. And that's where we're at in the world right now, is we can either, and some people will stay with the status quo, and other people, some of us like you and I, we're working on change. How do we reinvent and create a better future? Because the one we have right now isn't working. The health of our kids is suffering. So freedomkitchensummit.com still has up the last summit I did on food and kids. And if anyone can take an hour and a half and watch the docuseries, which is only $27, it is very enlightening.
Yeah, so that is freedomkitchen.com. No, freedomkitchensummit.com.
Yep.
Yes, freedomkitchensummit.com. Okay, so remember this, bookmark it. Yes, wow, all of this is super impressive. I didn't expect less, of course. So I personally am super delighted about your work, Lisa, and your dedication to this important cause for humanity. And we talked about where people can find you. Again, freedomkitchensummit.com. And yes, so what that leaves me with is to just look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday, dear audience, same place, same time. And in the meantime, keep your light dimmer switch in the high position and don't let anybody bring it down. Keep shining sparkle away like the precious pearl you are, because the world is your oyster. And for that, you need freedom. Join me again next week, same time. Thank you again, Lisa. It's been amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.